We started off the show talking about the Kansas City Chiefs going to 8-1. We'll get to Russell Wilson and the Seahawks Day in just a bit, Howie. But the way Patrick Mahomes is playing right now, is he now the leading candidate for MVP?
I think to me, it comes down to him at this point, from my perspective, him and Brady. I think Brady might get the nod because of just the overall impact he's had on walking through the doors of that facility and changing the culture. You take your eyes off the Kansas City game, and he's thrown for 4 touchdowns, and Kelsey's got 159 yards in receiving yards. They can beat you in so many different ways, and today was throwing the ball. It wasn't running the football. But Brady is a guy who I think has had a major impact on that Tampa Bay franchise.
Yeah, but you talk about how, Tyreek Hill's 113 yards. He had so many weapons there in Kansas City. And we talk about MVP and Russell, and he didn't have a great game today, the turnovers. But then I'm watching, Ben Roethlisberger. Why is his name not brought up anywhere? This team is undefeated. They weren't the same team without him. So obviously this guy is very valuable to his team as well. And it just hit me, knowing that they're playing the Cowboys today, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not, without him, they're not saying.
Kyler Murray.
But
there's one guy. You're forgetting about one guy.
Mike, you make a good point.
You're forgetting about one guy.
Undefeated.
Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is having 24 touchdowns, 2 picks. That's it.
They
really good.
have lost games. We're talking about a guy who's on a team that they have not lost a game yet, and they have rose to every occasion. And we sit here and we wait for them to get overwhelmed by emotion and think they got themselves up big for Baltimore. They're not going to follow it up, and they keep following it up week after week.
You can take.
I'm just
I agree. You can
an observer to say that. I think Roethlisberger, you have to put his name in there.
Now let's see how he does against Dallas, which I think he's going to be fine. And you go back to, I think Matt LaFleur is doing a wonderful job in calling games for the Green Bay Packers. The other night, nothing away from Aaron, but let me just say this. As a quarterback, you're sitting there watching these things, you go, he had one great touchdown pass down the left sideline, tight coverage, great catch, great throw. The other 3 touchdown passes were basically, where's the defense? There's nobody inside. So you say 4 touchdown passes, but you come away, okay, 4 touchdown passes. You watch Mahomes today, his 4 touchdown passes, moving right and left and throwing sidearm. It's a different way of doing things, but Ben, you're right. For some reason, me, a Steeler guy of all people, hasn't even thought about giving him the love.
What's so funny about Mahomes is early we were like, oh, he seems off. Yeah. So you look at his numbers, you're like, most quarterbacks would die to have that.
30 of 45, 372 yards, 4 touchdowns.
You know what they are? They're like an NBA team.
Yeah,
they're like an NBA team.
Hey,
stick around
Mr. Quarterback Guru.
Yeah.
Mr. Quarterback Guru, I want to hear from you. Chicago Bears. They make the change. They were 3-0 with Mitchell Trubisky. Make the change to Nick Foles. They're 2-4 since he's been the starter, and this offense seems to struggle right now. Would you go back to Trubisky?
They don't want to make that change.
I'm asking, would you?
Would I?
Yes.
No. I made my commitment. I'm going to, it's kind of like making my bed. I'm going to lie in it. That's the way it is. This is, listen, this Foles is to me, is the perfect quarterback for the Bears. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's all about winning and losing. Trubisky, they just had enough. They're through with him. So they're not going to open that up. They're not going to turn that page backward and go, let me reread this. They've moved on from him, and they're going to have to live with what they get.
But at some point, don't you have to admit that maybe we made a mistake? I mean, the way they're playing under Foles right now, their offense is
well, maybe they have to admit that neither guy is the answer.
Well, then, in the middle of the season, what do you do?
I mean, it's quarter to quarter, half to half.
Yeah, I would keep him in there as well, because Mitch Trubisky, you already seen it. You know what he's capable of doing. It's not going to change. It's not like he's going to improve over the last 4 or 5 weeks, whatever, since he's been benched. But Nick Foles has to do better because that defense is really good. They should be winning a lot more games.
Well, that offense is really bad.
Well, David Montgomery is the key.
Come on, let's talk about pass protection. Let's talk about receivers. Yeah. Let's talk about making something happen.
3/5 of their offensive line's out. There's no run game. It's quarter to quarter, half to half in terms of the consistency. They picked it up in the second half. He put some numbers up, got the game closer, but there's no consistency. And that's the part that you want to see them get in a rhythm. And with the protection breakdowns early in the game, he couldn't get in a rhythm.
All right. Sounds like you guys saying it's not the quarterback's fault. It's okay.
No.
That's good. Good to know.
It's somebody's fault.
We need some knowledge.
I don't know if I said that.
Yeah. What?
What? It's not the quarterback's fault. I don't think I said that. But anyway.
Would you say that?
Take it for what it is. Hey, you get all the credit when you win. You got to take the abuse when you're losing, too. Get ahead of the team.
Look, you have to understand one thing. It's so easy to change quarterbacks. But what about people that go with it? Even with Mitch when he was in there, where are the players that go with it? You're acting like, well, if Tom Brady were in Chicago,
DB, part of me is really just joking. I mean, really.
Don't be joking about stuff.
Whoa!